Welcome, Visionaries. This is your host, the INFJ Visionary. And I thought we'd pick up the thread where we left it on our last broadcast. I was talking about, mostly I was talking about friendship and how I had lost some, and through, in some cases, my own shortcomings. Well, generally, it was my own shortcomings that were at the cause of either one. But um, I wanted to talk today a little bit about direct speech. Now, I'm not an expert in the whole Jungian archetype thing, although I've looked as deeply into it as most, or maybe more so than many. And one thing I've heard is that INFJs are inclined to speak directly. And my wife, who's an INFP, that INFPs are inclined to speak indirectly. And that has been my experience. And I know that I like to speak directly because if I'm not speaking directly, it's not by choice. It's because I'm watching my ass and I'm making sure I'm not offending somebody. Um, so much of the time, though, I don't even worry about that. But a lot of times what can happen is that I end up saying something very direct that I think it's funny or amusing, and then I'll see the look of startled shock on the face of the listener and go, oh, okay, well, that was too direct. Now, the island that I moved to, the volcanic island, there are natives here, and they had their own kind of culture here. And I am a visionary. I'm from another place, but I do try to slot in as best as I can when I can. And the thing is about the natives here is that they speak very indirectly. They will bend over backwards to not offend you or say something that they think could be considered to be derogatory. Now, that's not to say they don't hold opinions that are derogatory. Uh, what they'll tend to do in a case like that is instead of saying something to you directly, they'll say it to somebody you know or that they know, and it may come back around. Now, that's the soul of indirect speaking, and that's okay. I understand it. It's a matter of, I can tell you that when I speak directly to people, this is in full knowledge and exercising of my extroverted feeling function, which is constantly saying, hey, visionary, just cool it. You're stressing out. You're stressing the situation. You're not moving with the societal expectations here. You need to dial it back. And I will override that. I'll be brave, and I do see it as bravery, because some things just need to be said, or, like I said earlier, maybe I just think it's funny. And why is it funny? Things that are funny are generally true but unexpected, right? So I don't know what your experience has been like that. INFJ, I do all I know. I have known a few other INFJs. Like I said, no male ones that I know of yet, but they do tend to speak fairly directly. Although when we speak directly, there is a guarded quality to it, and I believe that is the extroverted feeling component. But when we know we're in a place that we can express ourselves freely, I think we will just cut right loose and let it all go. And that's to the good. I think that's the good. Now, the other thing I was talking about in our last broadcast was this repression of the shadow thing, okay? Now, you could have some sort of unmanifested desire. Let's just say that, for example. Could be anything. Could be anything that's, a manifestation of the shadow. But let's just say it's unmanifested desire over a long period of time. And when this desire comes up in your mind, you just push it down and say, no, no, life won't satisfy that desire. It's not appropriate or whatever. And trust me, I'm not talking about anything, weird or funky. I'm just saying it could be any sort of thing that you want, or any place you feel your life is falling short. And instead of maybe acknowledging it and bringing it into the light, what you do instead is you just push it down and say, no, no, this isn't going to happen. It's not a thing. Not going to worry about it. And what I think can happen in cases like that is that you may become a bit brittle. And there are reasons why things come into your mind. There are reasons why you feel things, and it's all designed to kind of move you through your life. And at the end of the day, you may not be moving when you need to be moving, right? Perhaps you're so content, or maybe you're not content, but you just have found stasis. You found a situation that gives you most of what you need, but not everything. And you say, well, this is fine. I'll just be okay with this, But perhaps you were supposed to go for something greater, and perhaps you in many cases, if you are trying to manifest something greater in your life, or if something greater is your destiny, your shadow is definitely going to be involved, because the shadow is the places that you are weak or unfulfilled or negative, right? Now that can be, I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about, I was saying something essentially negative about my life, that I couldn't experience this or that, and that was the way I felt the universe wanted things. And she's like, well, you're making that happen. And she was an INFJ actually too, by the way. And I says, well, that I would have to acknowledge the truth of that on the one hand. On the other hand, I'm not going to be a Pollyanna. I'm not going to be fake. I'm not going to say that things are one way when I see them being another. That said, you need to be careful, because that's called justification. And getting back to the shadow rising up and getting you, what had happened to me was that I was in a situation that wasn't fulfilling for a long time, but that I had stasis in, and I made an attempt to break out of it. And it was in the worst possible way, because I wasn't coming from a place of strength or reasoning or courage. I was coming from a place of rash decision. And when we're making those sort of rash, maybe unbalanced decisions, that's definitely leaning on our weaker functions, right? And the great thing about introverted intuition, is that it can serve you. It can pretty much provide you with the information you need in regards to anything going on in your life. But you need to, and we talked about this way early back, on like broadcast 2, 3, or 4, or something like that. You need to be careful, because your ideas about things will color the information that's coming in. So you're not necessarily getting a true signal. And really, so much what I'm talking about when I'm talking about reconciling with the shadow is not indulging in darker aspects of your psyche, but acknowledging them, giving them some credence in your life, and instead of just stuffing them down, giving them a place of acknowledgement. Say, okay, I see that, and let's see what we can do to satisfy that. I know I'm being a little bit vague, but hopefully it is resonating with you somewhat. And at the end of the day, I think that we can't afford to have um, the shadow functions that are in the shadow. You need to bring all that to light to the best of your ability. And granted, you'll never be strong in those areas. But that reconciliation of the dark and the light, I believe, is one of the primary purposes of being an INFJ. So that's it for today. Until they come back, hopefully in another day or two. Keep on keeping on, INFJ.